After a while, thinking he must have been too shy to answer, I decided to press him. What happened? You can tell me if you need something, I will help you. But the boy said nothing. Go on, you can trust me. Tell me your name and what the matter is. I went on, not wanting to give up. What problem? He answered at last. I tried to smooth things out a bit with a smile so that he feel more comfortable. If you turn up like that lying by the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, you have obviously got some sort of problem. After a moment's thought, he surprised me with a question. What exactly is a problem? I smiled, thinking he was being ironic. What is a problem? He insisted, and I realized he was waiting for an answer. Still surprised by his reaction, I thought that perhaps I hadn't understood the question. Problema. Problem. I tried it in a few other languages, even though it sounded more or less the same in all of them. I have heard the word, he interrupted, but could you explain to me what it means? I racked my brains for the dictionary definition, but in vain, amazed that in the world positively overflowing with problems, there might be a teenager who hadn't even come across the concept. Finally, after realizing I couldn't escape his penetrating gaze, I tried to put together an explanation of my own. A problem is like a door you haven't got the key to. And what do you do when you come across a problem? The boy wanted to know, becoming more and more interested in the conversation, even though he carried on staring into the distance. Well, the first thing to do is to see if the problem really is yours. If it is your path that is blocking, that's vital, I explained, because there are a lot of people who interfere in other people's problems, even though they haven't been asked for help. They lose time, waste their strength, and prevent others from finding their own solutions. It was clear he agreed with this obvious truth, one of which many adults don't accept. And if the problem really is yours, he continued, turning towards me, then you have to find the right key and put it into the lock in the right sort of way. It sounds simple, the boy concluded with a nod. Don't you believe it? I replied. Some people don't find the key, and not for lack of imagination, but because they are unwilling to try 2 or 3 times with the keys that they have. And sometimes they don't try at all. They want someone to hand them the key, or even worse, to come and open the door for them. And are they all capable of opening the door? If you are convinced you can do it, then you almost certainly can. But if you believe you can't, that practically guarantees you won't manage it. And what happens to people who don't manage to open the door? The boy pressed on. They have to try again and again until they do, or they will never become what they could be. And then, as though thinking aloud, I added, there is no point losing our tempers banging on the door and doing ourselves damage, blaming it for all our troubles. But now should we resign ourselves to living on this side of the door, dreaming of what might be on the other side? And is there anything that justifies not opening the door? He insisted, still not quite accepting my explanation. Far from it, I exclaimed. Although humans have developed a greater capacity for justifying themselves, they blame their flaws on a lack of love or education. They blame their flaws or on all the suffering they have had to deal with. They might eventually convince themselves that it is better not to cross the threshold, as it might be dangerous or threatening on the other side. Or they might cynically declare that they are not interested in what they might find in if they walk through. But those are not more than ways of masking the pain of their failure. The longer we delay in confronting the obstacle in our path, the bigger the difficulties grow, and the smaller we become. Or to put it in another way, the longer we drag a problem with us, the heavier it becomes. I felt the boy's resistance lessening, but this persistent look and the sadness and resignation on his face made me go on. All this leads to unhappiness. The path to joy and spiritual fulfillment requires the courage to change and grow. We should always be ready to abandon the comfort of our position and face our problems again and again until we are satisfied we have resolved them and go through the door and make progress. And what do I do to find the right key? He went on, giving me no time to enjoy my neat analogy of the door, which he was clearly not ready to appreciate. At that moment, I had to lift my foot off the accelerator for a second as I caught up with a lorry full of livestock. When I looked at the petrol gauge, I was gripped by the sudden fear of that we couldn't have enough to get us to the next service station, which was miles away. I had to slow down in spite of myself so we could use less. Unfortunately, my car wasn't fitted with one of those modern systems that shows you how many miles you can cover with the petrol you've got left. I reassured myself that by thinking that the lorry could carry on behind me and could help if necessary, and so I greeted the driver with a broad smile as I overtook him, which he responded to with a friendly toot on his horn. Even today, seeing another human being in a Patagonia is something to celebrate, which is why this friendly greeting has become a nice little custom. How do I find the key? Insisted the boy, obvious to my musings, not giving up on the question now that he asked it. Just like that, I replied, trying to hide the slight annoyance I was beginning to feel at the long journey. What I mean is, if you keep on asking your question over and over again, you always end up finding the answer. If you persevere and try all the keys you have got, eventually you will open the door. And I thought, if you keep on with your questions for a few days, you'll end up driving me completely mad, which a voice inside me quietly corrected to completely sane.